Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm actually going to talk about something that so many of you have been asking me about. It is how to run a business and grow on social media. I'm going to talk about two parts. So one is business, and that could be you being a makeup artist or a photographer, or it could be just anybody that's thinking of opening up their own business. It could be a product, it could be a service, it could be anything. I'm gonna just like share my experience as an entrepreneur. The second half is going to be about social media, because I think it's great to be able to grow your business on social media, but you might just want to be a content creator or an influencer, so that might help you as well. Right, starting off with business, the first thing you would want to do is think of a name, you know, for your brand or your business. And once you have thought of that name, you need to register your business. One of the main reasons you want to register your business is just so that nobody else has taken your name and you could potentially use that name to create a website. So websites are great because it's just a professional platform. So if you are selling a service or a product, you would want it to be via a website where people can put their payment details and they could, you know, book you or inquire or pay for something. So those two things are important. Personally, again, from experience, I do know a lot of business owners who don't do this, and I keep telling them it will just really help, is having a business phone. I mean, obviously have your business email, so set up an email that's, you know, part of your website or your own email that's related to your business. But I would also recommend having a business phone. If you are a service provider, you're most likely going to be talking to a lot of your clients, so having a personal phone and a business phone would be really well, I would say not essential, but it would be like peace of mind. You'd be able to just put your business phone away on the weekends, or, you know, you'll be able to control your hours better, and that way also, you know, have that kind of privacy with you know, your family and friends. Once you've started, I would then say, if you feel like you're making some decent money, it's progressing, you're becoming an established business, then you would definitely need to hire an accountant, because you probably will have to start paying taxes once you've reached that threshold. Obviously it's different in different countries, but in the UK, you know, I believe once you're above the £12,000 a year threshold, you need to start paying taxes, obviously your hours and this and that. If you're good at doing your own taxes, that's great. I have my own accountant. I have had my accountant since 2014, I believe. I registered my business in 2013. 2014, I got myself an accountant, and since then it's been the same accountant. He does my company and my personal taxes. I still don't understand it. I'm not great with numbers, and I find taxes very scary. It's also a way to protect yourself. Once you have your accountant and, you know, you start paying your taxes, it looks good on your business. If you're thinking about mortgages, if you're thinking about getting something on finance or bank loans or things like that, you know, it needs to show that this is the sort of amount that you're earning, you know, every single year. Obviously, it's different if you already have a full-time 9-to-5 job and you're just starting this on the side. It could be any business. But for me as a makeup artist, I went self-employed. Like, I completely became the director of my limited company in 2013. So this is my sole business, and I've been doing this for so long now, so I feel like having that accountant did definitely help. Now, once you get an accountant and you start, you know, making your money and paying your taxes, the other two things that I would probably recommend, they could fall under the same category, is liability insurance. That way you're protected, your client's protected. If anything happens, nobody can sue you. And also, you know, just for things like if you lose your kit, or, you know, it gets stolen, or I don't know, somebody reacts really badly to something you've used and they try and sue you, so you know you're like legally protected and you're covered if it goes as far as court. Luckily, it's never happened to me before, but I do, you know, think it's always important. A lot of the manor houses, or very expensive listed sort of properties in the UK, they do require the makeup artist to have a liability insurance before you're even allowed to work on the premises, just to make sure that you don't damage any of the furniture or whatever. So it's always good to have. You pay yearly, and to be honest, they're not that expensive. and it's honestly peace of mind, so I would definitely recommend that. Now, the last thing would be contracts. So if you are a service provider, I would definitely recommend contracts. Again, it protects you, it protects the client, and I initially just used sort of like a template that I found on Google. I just Googled it and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is helpful. Different countries have different laws, you know, so I would definitely look into things like that, i.e. travel. You know, every country has like their own sort of travel bracket, you know, this many sort of pence or pounds per litre, if it's petrol, if it's diesel, you know, and then electric cars. There are certain guidelines that you can find, but again, they're different and they vary according to the country that you live in. So those are the things that you could add if you want to charge travel cost for your clients. I'm trying to think about like things like early call fees, late call fees, cancellation policies, refunds. You know, are you allowed to use the pictures on social media? There are so many things that needs to be added. The latest addition for me, I mean, I've had the same contract pretty much for almost 10 years, but then when lockdown happened, that was something that I added. It's called force majeure. That basically protects you from all sort of like natural disasters or God-made things, like anything that you don't have control over. So then that way it kind of protects you as well if obviously somebody's wedding gets postponed and it's not their fault, but it's not your fault, but then you're a micro business. How do you refund people back? It's a lot of stuff. So again, it's just to protect yourself, but also to protect the client as well, and to kind of help the client understand, okay, this is what he or she signed, right? So I think contracts are super, super, super important. So just to kind of tell you a little bit about how I've done things, I have a website. I've had a website for a really long time. It needs to be updated, but so if somebody wants to inquire, I only let them do that via my website. I'll find it so much easier. I do have a PA. I've had several PAs actually, just depending on who's kind of, you know, free, has a few hours to spare. She works for me from Monday to Friday, just like that 1 hour in the day, so that they can make sure that they check in the morning and in the evening, so then that way all of my clients get responded to within 24 hours. If you have had an experience where that's not happened, please do let me know, because sometimes these emails do end up in junk, and as much as I do tell my PA to check, she sometimes is not able to, so do please let us know. So then we normally send out a template if somebody inquires via my website about a wedding on a particular date. We send them a template that's usually like a generalized sort of information, and I've changed that. I've changed whether it's prices, what those packages include. I've changed those over the years depending on, you know, I think when you're at the start of your career, obviously you say yes to everything and you try and be as reasonably priced as possible because you want the bookings, right? Like you want the word of mouth. Forget how many social media followers you have. You want the word of mouth. You want somebody to book you because they like you and they liked your work and didn't, you know, found you quite affordable, didn't think that you were expensive. And then you start tweaking the little things where you're just like, okay, but travel is this, but then early call charges are this, but then if you're late, it's this. You're only able to do that once you've been in the industry for so long that you're kind of just like, okay, guys, like, you know, and I think you're able to have that kind of, somewhere you've got to, you know, have boundaries and standards and, you know, not take liberties, right? So I guess I've changed things over time, like what we include and what we don't include. It also probably, if you don't know how much to charge, is sometimes wise to kind of ask around local makeup artists, you know, whether, you know, from very established to even the beginners, like just to kind of see price points and what people are charging and what are they including and stuff. And it's up to you. If you feel like, I am as good as the established one, I'm gonna charge the same, that's fine. At the end of the day, it's not about your ego, it's about whether people think you're worth spending that money on. And I think ultimately that's what matters. I've never felt like I was very expensive. I always felt like I was kind of, I've had too many people always say to me, oh, we always thought you were way more expensive than this. And I try and be reasonable in the sense that I always try and say to myself, would I spend that money? And so I try and make it, you know, sort of like an in-between. And, you know, and I think I can allow myself to do that after like nearly 15 years in this industry. But then, you know, those are prices. So once we send the template and they're okay with the prices and they're like, yep, I'm happy to go pay the deposit. In my case, unfortunately, they are non-refundable because, again, I'm a micro business. I'm putting all that money into my business. I do all these courses, like, you know, I go and try and constantly learn and update my kit as well. So that's where the money gets invested into. And even things like liability insurances, you know, getting, like, I got myself an electric car because I thought that's so much cheaper. But then that money goes into that. However, I don't charge travel costs for my brides anymore. Like anything within London, it's all included in my packages because it's not fair. Like I've got an electric car, why am I charging them? But then that money that they pay in the deposit sort of gets invested into the money that I spent buying a brand new electric car, if that makes sense. So this is how you sort of like weigh out the kind of costs and does it cover and, you know, things like that. Once they pay the deposit and sign the contract, we book them in, and then from that moment onwards, me and, or the bride and myself, we're the ones talking about everything. I mean, my PA doesn't know anything about hair and makeup, so she wouldn't be able to help anyway. And I'm somebody, I respond to all of my brides immediately, and I'm constantly messaging them, and, you know, very, very particular about giving every single bride the utmost, you know, customer service and the perfection, and, you know, make them all feel special and important. And for me, which hasn't been the case from the beginning, it's never been about money for me. It's always been about the experience, because I love that. When I spend money, you know, on anything, I love great customer service, and I love leaving feeling special and feeling, you know, nice, and don't we all? And so that's why for me it's really, really important. Maybe working in retail in the past has really helped me sort of understand customer service, but that is something that you could look into if you have no idea about customer service. Maybe look into little short courses that you could do where you could learn about customer service and handling people, or if you can't afford a PA to begin with, maybe how to respond to emails, how to deal with business inquiries and things like that. That would really help as well. And yeah, and once they book, I do a trial with them. I provide a full makeup trial and several hairstyles. So it's usually 2 to 3 hours, which also includes a consultation. I go through all the outfits and we talk about jewelry, we talk about the day, we talk about what the client wants. We have like a little chat. I note everything down, I take pictures, and then I drape the, if it is for a Hindu wedding, I do drape the sari on them, pin it, prepare it, you know, wrap them really safely, and again, order flowers for them, hair flowers, and, you know, talk to them about jewelry, where they can hire jewelry, because in London we have several businesses that hire jewelry, so a lot of brides here don't tend to buy their own jewelry anymore. It's usually imitation jewelry anyway. So it's made things a lot easier for us makeup artists as well. Like back in the days, I used to have jewelry that I provided for my brides, a veil, whatever. But you know what? Sometimes it's nice to split up the businesses, because now there are businesses who provide jewelry, whether you can buy it or rent it. But then you've got businesses that do veils, you know, bridal veils. And then like, so you kind of like, in a way, helping each other out, and so many people that do hair flowers. So whereas back in the days, we didn't have that, and so it was required that the makeup artist, the one makeup artist, did everything. Some even back then used to do cakes and, you know, all sorts of things. So whereas now we have different people for that. So then it makes it nicer when you can spend that time on your bride, where you're only doing the hair and makeup, which essentially is who you are, a hair and makeup artist. I mean, in my case anyway. And then yeah, and then it's just like, you know, providing the service on the day, getting the rest of the payment, and wishing them a happy married life, and that's it. So that's kind of how my business has worked. Hope this was useful or helpful. I'm gonna move on to the next chat. If you do have any questions about any of the stuff that I've just shared, please do leave feedback. I have been considering doing a one-to-one sort of mentoring as well. Definitely not at this time of the year. It's really busy for me, but maybe towards the end of the year, it's something that I might provide, where I can really help people, you know, start their business and kind of mentor them and guide them so they feel a bit more confident or something. I'd love to do that. So yeah,